Good evening, scholars. Coming to you from Keller on Wednesday evening, September 15th. And I just finished reading your discussion board on Chickamauga and House's Editha. And wow, now that's a discussion board. That's a much better job overall than last week's. People were really, and I can see how many times a post has been read, and I see where a lot of classmates are going in and reading each other's posts. And you did a really super job. I do want to point out a few things. I actually have 18 notes, but I'm going to try to keep it manageable and not keep you for like 10 minutes like I did last time. But I really do like the idea that some of you noted the symbolism of romanticism versus realism in House's story, because that is exactly one of the things that's going on in that story. You can look at Gearson as the fellow who has kind of got a realistic view of things and sort of gets swayed over to the romantic. You can look at Editha as purely romantic, and then you can look at the mother as completely realistic. And so you can look at those characters symbolically. And as a matter of fact, Marta, her thread, she did an outstanding job of doing like a symbolic analysis of those characters in that way. And of course, I want to give credit to the person who brought up realism versus romanticism first and did that so well, and that would be whom? Well, oh, Sierra. So that was a really good job, and you can review those posts. Those are really, I'll make the discussion board available again, but I'll lock the thread so you can't respond to people, but then you can review it. I wanted to point out that House himself was rather radical for his time. He'd be considered radical today, and I'm sure you all read the introductory material, but on page 111 in your textbook, he was asked to, when he turned 75, he was asked to prepare a statement to be read to the school children in New York City schools. And this is what he says: "While I wish you to love America most because it's your home, I would have you love the whole world and think of all the people in it as your countrymen." Isolationism at the time was the more popular stance. We weren't about globalization at the time, so that's kind of radical. But then he goes on and says, "You will hear people more foolish than wicked say, 'Our country, right or wrong.' But that is a false patriotism and bad Americanism. When our country is wrong, she is worse than other countries when they are wrong, for she has more light than other countries, and we somehow ought to make her feel that we are sorry and ashamed for her." And he's saying this to school children in New York in 1912. And so you hear that. Editha is parroting what she hears in the paper. It is a blind patriotism. She doesn't really know what the war's about, and that she gets to the point where now that we're in it, it doesn't matter our country, right or wrong. And House is critical of that, very critical of that. Just to take it one step further with the symbolism, on page 117, I don't know, no one mentioned it in the discussion board, so I'll mention it at the bottom of that page. Editha is described in terms like she's red, white, and blue. I mean, that is how symbolic she is. And George, in his new role where he's decided, yes, I'm going to war and I'm going to be a soldier, he's like a stranger to her. And this is what he says as he's kissing her: "What a gorgeous flower you are, with your red hair and your blue eyes that look black now, and your face with the color painted out by the white moonshine." I mean, red, white, and blue. So she's very symbolically, this blind patriotism. Christy McNeil, asked that question about what exactly did that mean at the end, and I believe it was Marta who answered her well. It means that she's able to absolve herself from all guilt when she just thinks in terms of this person is vulgar and is unrefined and uneducated and doesn't understand. So it once again makes her feel okay about her idealism and romanticism as regards war. You did a super job, you all. Had to laugh at Charlie's typo. That was kind of funny. Gay as... So not the other. What else do I need to say? Oh, I wanted to comment on Brian's post this week. I really liked his point of view where he talked about blind patriotism, of course, is no good, but sometimes war is a necessary thing. And Brian had a real balanced and interesting viewpoint that he expressed in both his thread and his response. So I wanted to give credit to that. And what else? Anna had mentioned the patriotism. That's what made me think of the red, white, and blue thing. And let's see. Oh, the point of view. A couple of people mentioned how Bierce, Charlie had brought up the biography of Bierce, and Bierce's experiences in war may have led to the way he graphically describes in very realistic terms what these soldiers look like. And Chelsea got in on that discussion, and so did, I think, Anna. And that was a very, very good thing. But the point of view is most... Anna talks about point of view in response to Chelsea very well, and Marta always also talks about point of view very well in Chickamauga. So that's a real interesting point of view. It's called defamiliarization, when a writer puts a narrator in a position to make things seem different. You know, for us to get into the point of view of a deaf, mute child who only has one sense, and it really defamiliarizes things which are familiar, and it's a technique used in literature sometimes. There's a little bit of that goes on in Life Among the Paiutes, where we get the point of view of the Native American to the whites and the African Americans, and how they're described in a way that's completely different from what we've always thought. So defamiliarization is part of that technique used in the point of view in Chickamauga. Like I said, last thing, I do want to give credit to Regina and Chelsea, who brought up that idea of, like, Editha's point of view is kind of like one of those romantic black and white films of the 1940s. And as a matter of fact, Regina brought up the photograph, that famous The Kiss, you know, I think it's a sailor back from war being passionately kissed by a woman. Yeah, that's the kind of imagery you got associated with the way Editha sees war and the way she's depicted that romantic idealism. So super duper job this week. I really enjoyed reading your posts on Editha and Chickamauga, and I look forward to next week's discussion board as well. Keep up the great work and have a great week.